Hi everyone, Quiveen here from the comfort of my kitchen. In today's video, we are going to have a quick review of a couple of the major comets that have come through our sky in the past couple of months and will continue through our sky in a few months to come. We're also going to take a look at those comets, hopefully, from a few other locations, from a few other planets. So we're going to start with Comet C2025A6 Lemmon. Here we go. So this comet, it looks like it's just under the horizon here as we come up to 11 o'clock, or as we come after midnight on the 8th. It is, quite close to the sun there, or at least it seems to be quite close to the sun. If we move back in time a little bit, we can see the comet coming back towards the plough. We'll move a little bit later just so that's a bit more obvious. So there's the comet going back towards the plough. As we come forward towards November, we can see it's getting much closer, or it appears to be getting much closer to the sun. We can see its brightness peaking just around here on the 24th of October. So that is an indicator that the comet here actually on the 28th, we can see it getting down to 10.08 magnitude. So this comet is just coming around its peak by the sun as we come out of October, and so it's still quite bright as we come into early November. It is quite low in the sky and it is quite close to the sun, but it is still there above the horizon at sunset. This version of it in Stellarium is showing it reasonably faint, just magnitude 10. But there, it does seem to be a little bit more visible than that in the real sky. So there is a good chance that you will be able to spot it with binoculars. It shouldn't actually be as faint as this seems to be indicating. That's Comet C2025A6 Lemmon. It's one of several comets that are coming past us at this time. Another is Comet R2 SWAN. So I mentioned in a previous video, we've got Comet R2 SWAN and Comet F2 SWAN, and I explained the differences in their names. It comes from when they were discovered, what half month they were discovered in, but it looks like Comet R2 SWAN is the slightly better one at the moment. It looks like it's going to be a bit more impressive as we come through November than Comet F2 SWAN. So we can see again moving back towards October is when it was at its brightest, and we can see it visibly moving closer to the sun, and it was closer to the sun back in October. But as it moves away from the sun, even though it gets fainter and therefore harder to see, it is also going to get higher in the sky and further from the light of the sun, which should help its visibility. And we can see that it's in a much easier position to observe, being up here by Saturn as we come through November. But by the time the moon is out of the sky and away from the comet, we can see the moon there pretty close to the comet around the night of Halloween. It is going to continue getting further from the sun and fainter, but it is in an easy to spot position, at least nice and high up by Saturn, so we can take a closer look here. I'm not getting any tails for the comets at the moment, but whether or not tails get generated by Stellarium, it does depend on a few factors. How much we know about the comet, how many orbital parameters we have, that kind of thing. There is a good chance that any measurements of the tails of these comets simply hasn't become available in a way that Stellarium can make use of it to show the tails. If we take a look for probably the most famous comet that's coming through the sky at the moment, we'll actually wait until we come around to morning time, because that is when it's going to be in our sky in November. If we move back a little bit again towards the start of November, it will be a little bit closer to Venus and the Sun. So we'll get zoomed in on it here again. There we go, and there it is just next to Venus and the Sun. We can see that it's much fainter than those other objects, and it is continuing to get fainter as we move out into the future. However, it is getting closer to us. So the Comet 3i Atlas is actually going to make its closest approach to the Earth, here we go, in late December. So we can see it here on the 20th, the 19th, 18th and 20th. It is only 1.798 AU away from us, which means it's not quite as far away from us as twice our distance to the sun. It's a little bit closer to us than twice our distance from the sun, but it is definitely further from us than we are from the sun at its closest approach there as we come through into December. So Comet 3i Atlas is pretty far away from us. However, it did get closer to a few other objects in our solar system, and around November 3rd is when it was at its closest to Venus. So, of course, if you were on Venus, it wouldn't be very good. You certainly wouldn't have a good view of the comet if you were standing on the surface of Venus due to Venus's thick atmosphere. Thankfully, when we transport ourselves to Venus here, which we should be able to do, there are a lot of comets and other minor bodies in this list. So we need to be precise getting to exactly... Well, there we go, just off the bottom of the screen, getting exactly to the object that we want. We might as well stay roughly in the same location, but there is 3i Atlas, and we can see it is much closer than 1AU to Venus. So its closest approach, of course, as we jump through the days here, things will get weird because the days are weird on Venus. We can see it getting further away, and if we pull back, we can see it also getting further away. So it looks like we are right on November 3rd here on Earth is when this comet makes its closest approach to Venus. We can see that it's still pretty faint. It's 11th magnitude, but much, much brighter than we'd be seeing it from here on Earth. Of course, the comet's already gone past its perihelion. It's already gone past its closest point to the sun, so it's not going to be as bright as it could be. But we're seeing it there much, much closer to Venus than it ever will get to the Earth. The comet also passed by Mars, so we'll take a quick jump to Mars. However, when the comet made its closest approach to Mars, I believe it was actually on its way into the solar system. It hadn't yet made its perihelion with the sun. So close. We'll get there in a second. There we go. So taking a closer look at this comet from Mars, it's now, 14th magnitude, similar to how we saw it from the Earth, over an AU away still in early November. So we're going to have to come back. The days, of course, are different on Mars as well, but they're not as different. The day on Mars is just 25 hours compared to our 24, rather than being days long, hundreds of Earth days long for one day on Venus. So here we are, just 1.9 AU. So even though we are looking at this from Mars, an AU is always the distance between the sun and the Earth. So here is the comet much, much closer to Mars than it will ever get to the Earth, much closer than it gets to Venus. And we can see it's there at magnitude 9, and this is earlier in October, so this would be before the perihelion. Again, much easier, much easier to see from Mars than it will be from the Earth. But this, of course, is looking into the past as well. So that is Comet Atlas viewed from a couple of the other planets in our solar system, a couple of the other planets that it did make not just close approaches to, but much closer approaches to. If we take a look at the distance to the sun there, we can see it's 1.678, and if we start moving forward, it goes down, but the distance from Mars goes up. So that's another sign that it is moving in towards the sun. And I think 1.97 is about as close as we're going to get. It goes up to 1.98 if we move back, and it does go down to 1.96, so it does go down another little bit, but that's just about as close as it's going to get to Mars. Hopping back to the Earth, we're not going to get the comet that close to us, and of course it's not going to get close to us at all until after it moves past its closest to the sun, and indeed until after November. This comet isn't going to get close to us until well into December, so we still have to wait quite a while for it to not get as close. But it is out there, and it is still going to stay in our sky for months to come. It will take a while for this comet to come all the way up to us and then keep heading out of the solar system. So if you have a good telescope or binoculars, it is there as an option. But those other comets, Comet R2 SWAN and Comet Lemmon, they are that little bit easier to see. So while we're still here, we might as well have a quick look just to see how Comet F2 SWAN will look. But from what I recall, Comet F2 SWAN, not visible from here in Ireland, so that's under the horizon and it's not going to be coming for us at all. So unfortunately that one is out of the way. Maybe for viewers in other locations you might get a chance to take a look at Comet F2 SWAN, but we can see it's there at magnitude 19, the faintest of all of the comets we've looked at today. So definitely a much harder target to acquire. So that is just a brief update on the comets. We will of course get back to Comet 3i Atlas once we're through to December and it's actually making its closest approach to us. But just to give a comparison with how close it got to the other planets in our solar system, it doesn't seem to be getting quite as close to the Earth. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do like it. If you like this kind of content, then please subscribe to this YouTube channel. And if you'd like to read some of this information, you can do so on my website, queebeanscontent.ie. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you back here next time.